living in an apartment at the time. And he shows up. I open the door, and there's this bad Zero Mostel comb over out of the relationship between father and daughter. And we chose you because just like Carroll O'Connor, you have blue eyes and a fat face. I said, okay. Thanks.
Thanks. At 78, Sally Struthers is finally opening up about her past and the people who shaped it. And the truth hits harder than anyone expected. Born Sally Struthers on July 28, 1947 in Portland, Oregon. She grew up in what looked like a solid, respectable household on the surface. Her father, Robert Alden Struthers, was a surgeon, and her mother, Margaret Caroline, held the family together while raising Sally and her sister, Sue. From the outside, it seemed like a picture-perfect setup with the pressure and pride that came from being raised in a medical family. Expectations were high, discipline mattered, and success wasn't optional. But behind closed doors, things weren't as steady as they appeared. When Sally was around 10 years old, her father walked away from the family. And that moment changed everything. "This is my father's chair, and he doesn't like anyone to sit in it." Well, how's he going to know? Because he was wounded in the war. WW2, the big one. Suddenly, her mother was left to raise 2 daughters on her own, juggling survival, stability, and strength all at once. That kind of early shakeup leaves a mark. And Sally felt it deep. That childhood disruption forced her to grow up fast, building resilience and emotional awareness that later showed up in her acting. Those real feelings weren't fake or rehearsed. They were lived in, and audiences could sense it long before the fame. The fire was already there. Her first real steps into the entertainment world came in the late 1960s and early 1970s with small but meaningful roles that slowly put her on the radar. In 1970, she landed a brief but unforgettable part in 5 Easy Pieces, sharing the screen with Jack Nicholson. Even with limited screen time, she didn't fade into the background. She stood her ground and made people notice. That same year, she popped up on television variety shows like the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour and the Tim Conway Comedy Hour, flexing sharp comedic timing and natural charm. She wasn't just funny, she was quick, fearless, and adaptable. Then came the moment that flipped her life upside down. In 1971, Sally Struthers became Gloria Bunker on All in the Family, a role that made her a household name overnight. Gloria was stuck between her loud, old-school father, Archie, and her outspoken, progressive husband, and Sally played that tension with heart and attitude. From 1971 to 1978, she helped drive one of the boldest sitcoms in TV history, tackling racism, women's rights, and generational clashes head-on. She wasn't just acting. She was reflecting real struggles, and that's why the role still hits today. Struthers' performances earned widespread praise and locked in her reputation as an actress who could balance comedy with serious dramatic weight. Viewers quickly realized she was not limited to sitcom energy, but capable of layered, emotionally grounded work that carried real impact. In 1972, she surprised audiences by stepping into a darker, more intense role in The Getaway. Starring alongside Steve McQueen and Ollie McGra, she portrayed the restless and dissatisfied wife of a veterinarian, a character far removed from the familiar television setting that had made her famous. The role marked a clear shift. This was not lighthearted or comedic, but tense, controlled, and emotionally sharp. The film became a major box office success, raising her profile in Hollywood and forcing industry insiders to reassess how far her talent could stretch. In 1977, she delivered another striking dramatic performance in the television film Intimate Strangers, where she played a woman experiencing physical abuse within her marriage. At the time, television rarely addressed domestic violence with this level of seriousness or honesty. Her portrayal was restrained but powerful, bringing attention to an issue that many networks avoided. The project earned her respect as a performer willing to engage with difficult, socially relevant material rather than staying in safe or familiar territory. Her connection to All in the Family remained strong in the years that followed. From 1982 to 1983, she reprised her role as Gloria in the spin-off series Gloria, which followed the character as a newly single mother navigating independence and responsibility. Although the show lasted only 1 season, it allowed Struthers to further develop a character that had defined a major chapter of her career. Around the same period, she became a regular presence on game shows, including Win, Lose, or Draw, where her humor and quick reactions connected easily with audiences. In the early 2000s, STRS found renewed popularity when she joined Gilmore Girls as Babette Dell, the outspoken and warm-hearted neighbor in Stars Hollow. Her performance added texture and personality to the show's tight-knit community and quickly made her a fan favorite. She followed that role in 2003 with a recurring appearance on Still Standing, playing Louise Miller, the manipulative and sharp-tongued mother of Bill Miller. Together, these roles highlighted her adaptability and long-term relevance, proving she could move effortlessly from 1970s classics to early 2000s television without losing her edge. Beginning in the early 2000s, Sally STRS quietly built a steady presence on the stage, becoming a regular performer at the Ounquit Playhouse in Maine. Known for polished productions and loyal audiences, the venue gave her room to stretch creatively away from television cameras and industry noise. Throughout that decade, she stayed busy with live theater, moving comfortably between styles and tones. She appeared in productions such as Love Letters, Curtains, Cinderella, Hello Dolly, and The Drowsy Chaperone. Each role highlighted a different side of her skill set, from sharp comedic delivery to controlled emotional beats. In 2012, she stepped into the role of Rose Clean in 9 to 5 the musical, tapping back into the fast-paced humor that audiences had always responded to. Between 2015 and 2016, she played Agnes Gu in Maine at the Riverside Center Dinner Theater, once again proving she could stand out in both supporting roles and big personality performances. Away from the spotlight, Struthers reached a major turning point in her personal life when she married psychiatrist William C. Ryder on December 18, 1977 in Los Angeles, California. At the time, she was already widely known for her Emmy-winning role as Gloria Stivic on All in the Family. The marriage brought together two very different professional worlds: her life in entertainment and his career in psychiatry. Ryder was established in traditional psychiatric work during their early years together, long before later controversies would shape his public reputation. For Struthers, who had spent much of her adulthood under constant public attention, this relationship marked a shift towards something more private. That sense of focus deepened with the birth of their daughter, Samantha Ryder, who quickly became the center of her life. She often described motherhood as grounding and transformative, saying it reshaped how she viewed success, responsibility, and balance. Protectiveness and patience became priorities as she worked to manage both career demands and family life. Struggs remained closely connected to her daughter as she grew older, later supporting Samantha's interests in psychology and holistic wellness. Despite the closeness they shared, the marriage itself did not last. After just over 5 years, STRS and Ryder divorced on January 19, 1983. The separation was not easy, but she focused on providing stability and care for her child while continuing to work steadily in television, theater, and charitable efforts. Independence became less of a slogan and more of a daily practice. When Struthers reflects on her career, one figure stands out above nearly all others: Carroll O'Connor as Archie Bunker. He played her television father for years, and audiences came to link them almost inseparably. Sally as Gloria and Carroll as Archie formed one of television's most recognizable and complicated family dynamics, shaping how generations remember both of them. Now at 78, Sally Struthers has begun speaking more openly about her bond with Carroll O'Connor, both on-screen and behind the scenes, and the truth she feels people never fully understood about him. According to her, Carroll was never just Archie Bunker. He was a deeply sensitive, sharp-minded man with a heart far bigger than the public ever saw. What people watched on TV, the rough edge, the biting jokes, the political arguments, that was acting, she explained. In real life, Carroll was thoughtful, gentle, and incredibly protective of the people he cared about. She added that he cared about her more than she even realized at the time. Struthers recalled how nervous she felt when she was cast as Gloria in 1971. The show, All in the Family, was already pushing boundaries, and she was young and still finding her footing. The scripts were heavier than anything I'd ever done, she said. I was untested in a lot of ways. That is when Carroll stepped in. He took me under his wing right away, she said. He never talked down to me, never made me feel small. He wanted me to succeed because he knew Gloria mattered to the story. He understood that Gloria was not just a daughter character, but a voice for a new generation challenging Archie's worldview. One moment stayed with her for decades. He told me, "You're not just acting, you're speaking for millions of young women out there." That line changed how she approached the role, giving her a sense of responsibility she had never felt before. Off camera, O'Connor's influence went even deeper. Struthers described him as the quiet anchor of the set. He checked in on cast members, invited her to dinner, and kept an eye on how she was handling sudden fame. "People forget how fast it all happened," she said. "Overnight, we were everywhere. Magazines, debates, headlines. It was a lot." Whenever she felt overwhelmed, Carroll noticed he would remind her that the attention would pass and that the work itself was what mattered. That grounding presence helped her survive the pressure without losing herself. She also shared a lighter side of him that fans rarely hear about. Carroll had a mischievous sense of humor that balanced the show's heavy themes. Between takes, he would tell long Irish jokes, sometimes to the point where the set dissolved into laughter, and Norman Lear grew impatient. Carroll believed laughter kept everyone steady and human. One truth Struthers emphasized strongly was his respect for women. While Archie Bunker was famous for dismissive and sexist rants, Carroll was the opposite. He deeply admired Jean Stapleton and treated Struthers as an equal even when she was still learning. He made sure women's voices were heard on set, not brushed aside. She believes that humanity is why audiences could still connect with Archie despite his flaws. Carroll's empathy always leaked through the character. Struthers grew visibly emotional when speaking about his later years, especially after the loss of his son Hugh O'Connor in 1995. "That broke his heart in ways none of us could fully understand," she said. Though he kept working, the sadness was always there. Even then, he never turned bitter. He continued reaching out, offering kindness, and showing up for others. Looking back, Struthers says she feels a responsibility to share these stories. "People will always remember Archie Bunker," she said. "But I want them to remember Carroll O'Connor, too. The man who believed in fairness, who adored his wife, Nancy Fields O'Connor, who treated his cast like family." For her, his true legacy was never about the character, but about the quiet decency he lived by every day. Carroll O'Connor was the best kind of teacher, Sally Struthers concluded. Not the loud or controlling type, but the kind who led by example and never needed to dominate a room to be respected. He showed her how to be brave on screen, how to stay grounded when the cameras stopped rolling, and how to use humor and compassion as tools rather than shields. Those lessons, she said, stayed with her long after the applause faded. Struthers has often reflected on how rare that kind of mentorship really is, especially in an industry driven by ego and competition. As a young actress stepping into one of the most politically charged television shows of its time, she could have easily been overwhelmed or sidelined. Instead, O'Connor made sure she understood her value, not just as a performer, but as a voice within the story. He treated her ideas with respect and never dismissed her because of her age or inexperience. She has been clear about one thing. A significant part of who she became both professionally and personally was shaped by his influence. Watching how he handled fame, criticism, and pressure taught her that success did not have to come at the cost of decency. He believed strongly that work mattered, but character mattered more, and that belief quietly guided how she navigated her own career. Now at 78, Sally Struthers speaks with the clarity that only time provides. There is no bitterness in her voice, no need to exaggerate or polish the past. Instead, there is affection, gratitude, and a sense of responsibility to set the record straight. After decades of being associated with a character defined by conflict and controversy, she feels it is important to remind people of the man behind the role. In telling the truth about Carroll O'Connor, Struthers reframes his legacy. Yes, the world will always remember Archie Bunker, the character who sparked arguments in living rooms across America, but she wants people to also remember the man who showed patience when others did not, who listened more than he spoke, and who carried empathy even when playing someone who often lacked it. For Struthers, honoring O'Connor is not about nostalgia. It is about acknowledging how kindness and integrity can quietly shape lives without ever demanding credit. She believes those qualities are what allowed the show to resonate for generations and what allowed her to grow into her own voice with confidence. As she looks back, she does not see controversy first. She sees guidance, trust, and a bond built on mutual respect. that she says is the truth people deserve to know. If you found this story meaningful, take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with others who love classic television, and leave your thoughts in the comments. We will see you on the next